Since ancient civilizations, the cosmos has been seen as God's clock. But in the Christian mystical tradition, the sky is not merely an adornment, but an early warning system. Jesus himself was the first seer in this regard. When on the Mount of Olives he warned, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars." Throughout the centuries, men and women have claimed to receive details of this celestial display, designed not to terrify, but to call the world to final preparation. In the 19th century, the great Piedmontese Saint Don Bosco had a prophetic dream that resonates today more than ever. He saw an epic naval battle where the ship of the church was attacked by a storm and enemy vessels. The sign, Don Bosco described how, at the height of the chaos, two columns appeared above the sea, one crowned by the Eucharist and the other by the Virgin Mary. But what was most striking was his description of the changes in the heavens that accompanied this peace. A sun shining with unusual intensity and a rainbow that was not made of water, but of divine light. The message, heaven announced that only through devotion to Mary and the Eucharist would humanity survive the great trial. Don Bosco warned that the celestial signs would mark the end of an era of darkness and the beginning of a triumph of faith. In the 1930s, in Poland, a simple nun received the messages of divine mercy. Jesus revealed to her that before the day of his justice, a day of great sign would come. The prophecy, all light in the sky will be extinguished, and there will be great darkness over the whole earth. Then the sign of the cross will appear in the sky, and from the wounds where the Savior's feet and hands were nailed, great lights will shine forth, illuminating the earth for a time. The purpose, this astronomical and spiritual sign has a direct message. God's mercy is the last hope of salvation. The world will not end due to a cosmic whim, but will be invited to recognize its own redemption in heaven. In 1973, in a remote corner of Japan, the Virgin Mary spoke to Sister Agnes Sasagawa. This message is considered by many to be a continuation of Fatima. The warning, the Virgin warned of a punishment greater than the flood. Fire will fall from the sky and wipe out a large part of humanity. The visionaries of Akita describe signs in the sun similar to those of Fatima, but with a more severe tone. The message of preparation. The Virgin of Akita insisted that the weapon to prevent these signs from becoming tragedy is the rosary and sacrifice. God shows his power in heaven so that humanity may bend its knee on earth. In 1947, in Rome, a man who hated the church had an encounter with the Virgin Mary at Tre Fontane. Bruno Cornacchiola received messages about the future of the world, which were delivered to the popes. The vision, Bruno described seeing a celestial object, similar to a comet or meteor, approaching Earth, causing the sun to darken. This sign in the sky would cause people to cry out in fear, not because of the object itself, but because of the revelation of the truth. At the call, Mary told him that the world was straying from the natural path and that these signs were wake-up calls for families to return to prayer. Conchita Gonzalez, the main visionary of the Garabandal apparitions, Spain, explained that the warning will come after a series of astronomical events shake the world. The description, a phenomenon is described that will begin with the letter A. Many researchers suggest it could be a stellar phenomenon, a supernova, or a comet that, upon interacting with the atmosphere, will cause everyone to simultaneously witness the state of their soul. A science versus faith. The visionaries mentioned that scientists will offer a physical explanation for the event, but that for believers it will be evident that it comes directly from God. The message is, whether these things happen or not, live as if every moment were your last. Modern visionaries like Luz de Maria de Bonilla have spoken extensively about the alteration of Earth's magnetism and how this will affect the sky. The signs in the sun. They speak of large solar flares that will interfere with human technology, leaving humanity alone against nature and against God. The blood moon. The biblical prophecy of the moon turning to blood is revisited. The message is that creation itself is groaning because of the lack of charity in the world. The sky turns red to recall the blood of Christ and the martyrs. If we add up all these accounts, from St. John Bosco to current visions, the message of God, Jesus, and Mary is not one of destruction but of maternal urgency. 1. Awakening from sleep. Modern man has forgotten the transcendent. The signs in the sky are the alarm that God sounds when the internal alarm clock, conscience, has failed. 2. Physical and spiritual preparation. The faithful are asked to have blessed candles, to pray as a family, and above all, to maintain peace. Do not fear what happens in the sky if God dwells in your heart. 3. The last door. Jesus told Saint Faustina that he first opens the door of mercy, the luminous signs. If man does not enter through it, he must pass through the door of justice. The sky may be filled with crosses, dancing suns, or mysterious lights, but the deepest message from all these visionaries is that the most important sign occurs in the silence of the soul. God uses the macrocosm, the universe, to speak to the microcosm, your heart. When you see the world seem to be shaking and the sky displays unusual signs, remember the words that are repeated in almost every apparition. Do not be afraid. I am with you until the end of time. Preparation is not a survival kit. It is a life of faith. Join our growing family. Subscribing is the best way to support us. Please like this video, leave your feedback in the comments, and share it widely to help us reach more people.